If you folks like glitched runs, the glitched randomizer run with King of Samaria's got some pretty funny applications.
Yeah, you can do some incredibly weird stuff with that thing if you use it in the proper way. But we won't be seeing any of that. What we will be seeing, though, is this exciting race going off, and it gives us a little hint about Acronym and the cape working on the barrier.
Yeah,
that
that'd
doesn't
be
actually
rough situation.
sorry. Yeah, that doesn't actually mean anything with regards to what is going to happen in this seed. We also see 3 crystals in Lightwood, by the way, with a 5/6 crystal being on Tower of Hera. But the hints are just completely randomly picked, so, doesn't say anything yet.
It's kind of like in Pokemon where you check your map as soon as you leave your house. Immediately, we already know less than a half minute into the race. Well, moment of truth. Today it's going to be a hammer start, so we have broken the bow spell.
And hammer is a real good start to have too. There's only a single enemy in this game, but you can't kill in one hit with it, and that's the ball and chain guard guarding Zelda, so it's going to be convenient, even if it's a little awkward to use at times.
Yeah, so some people may still opt to throw pots when they're in the basement, being that it is more of a projectile, and the hammer hitbox is really tiny. But then again, if you practiced it, it's a very reliable weapon, as you've said. Another nice thing, too, is we don't have to manage any kind of ammunition. We can farm for bombs indiscriminately.
Yep, you can just kill anything along the way, and due to the one-hit killer nature of this weapon on pretty much all the enemies here, it's actually really nice to just walk up to an enemy and if they're anyway, just hit him. And who knows, maybe you'll get a bomb ammo while you're at it. Like that, see?
Well, that's not a bad find so quickly on, and gamercal first to the blue guard here that has a key for his own door. We find a bottle, so that green goo is going to allow us to check Sick Kid as soon as we go to Kakariko. Very fortunate for our routing.
Yeah, it's always really handy if you find a bottle before going to Kakariko, because it's one less spot you can possibly forget about in the future.
We have another opportunity for an item here. It's going to be a map, so when we do go to the sanctuary after escape, we should be checking that chest. As the map is the only dungeon item that you can pick up, besides the big key that this ball and chain guard in the next room is always going to drop.
Yeah, there are no compasses for Hyrule Castle. Because, well, the compass in Link to the Past only shows where the boss is, and there's no boss in this dungeon. Careful, Cal. Very good choice to just go back for a pot at this point if you've down to 1 heart.
Yeah, it loses a little bit of time on Samura1man, but still better to not die until you've picked up Zelda at the very least.
Yeah, I think that despite the fact that Samura1man looks a little bit behind, he's technically slightly in the lead now due to the fact that Samura1man already checked the map while gamercal has yet to do so.
Yeah, that information advantage, and he's absolutely going to check it at some point, so that will result in the split that we see kind of merging together here. That's absolutely a very astute observation.
It's also still the question if gamercal will kill another one of those knife guards and get a drop off of him, because that was the enemy type that dropped a single bomb for Samura1man, and I believe gamercal is pretty close to its price pack being that far for him too.
Yep, it's pretty rare to have enemies that have a 100% drop rate, but a 50% drop rate is pretty average for pretty much all prize packs, and gamercal does find that bomb from the green guard.
Yep, so they're an equal footing for having a bomb at least. As always, people would rather have at least like 3 more bombs or so before heading to Kakariko Village, but...
Well, so chat's pointing out that gamercal did miss his bomb in Escape last time. They found Power Glove in Escape, though, so it wasn't a big deal, but neither of our runners worrying about that today. And, of course, no ammunition to be fretting about either when it comes to this key rat, so it should be pretty straightforward escape here on through.
Yeah, definitely. Like, at this point, you should just be killing the enemies that are directly in your way as opposed to going out of your way trying to get more stuff.
And of course, if they do find bomb drops, they're very likely to pick them up, but absolutely, I mean, we're likely to find the rupees we need for more bombs in Kakariko. No need to really sweat it.
And wow, this is some sync going on right here. Basically frames apart in how far they are from each other.
Yeah, with a little bit of a door nudge, this will tie up, so gamercal getting through his door, not going to have that complete sync just yet, but little things like key rats might actually be the difference again.
Yeah, it looks like gamercal took a little bit longer to hit it, but got a slightly better key rat position, so they're still actually fairly equal.
Wow, cash drops and another bomb for gamercal. Samura1man hasn't found one just yet.
That's a nice amount of money there. There's also some incredibly opportune farming on gamercal's side. Just hitting those rats while they were running past while he was waiting on his bomb to explode anyway.
Yeah, so our runners leave him with approximately 400 rupees each, and gamercal does have that one extra bomb, but we're going to find out pretty quickly, honestly, if we end up, seeing bombs from either a tree pull or even a hoarder, whether or not we're going to actually buy bombs in Kakariko. But we have the cash to do it. Certainly nothing holding us back there.
Could even be seeing tree bombs right here. Oh, we got the money for 10 bombs here, that's close enough.
It's actually the value of 5 bombs, according to the Kakariko trade currency exchange.
Interesting.
But we are very close to our Zora money, so I gotta think that fake flippers, if we don't find flippers prior to going South Shore, is a pretty appealing choice.
It looks like gamercal is going with his usual route of not checking the lumberjack, while Samura1man is actually checking lumberjack tree. There's some interesting options there. Dude, that is a nice tier 2 tree pool.
Yeah,
that's picking this up too as well, though, so it's not going to make a difference here.
Either way, though, fantastic find, and it's great knowledge to have going forward, because anytime we need bombs, we're all set. Well, Cash is definitely not shy here in this seed. We're not going to kill Aghanim for that 50 rupees, but we could if we wanted to. We may perhaps still have to do so for Dark World, though.
Yeah, that remains to be seen. Of course, with a hammer start, you are real close to... You are already halfway to Dark World. Well, 1/3 of the way to Dark World access to begin with, so it already makes an Aghanim seed a little less likely than usual.
Well, we do have a bomb bag upgrade. If we really wanted to, we could do a tier 2 pull again and try and get more bombs, but 10's plenty to work with. I don't think anybody's doing that anytime soon.
Oh my. Aw, damn. Kind of Burn Island nice, though. I was just hoping that was another 20, because that would have been a full vanilla basement there. Ooh, and flippers, nice. Especially with all that money already.
You're going to need that for the kiddie pool that is loaded with cash. So we are swimming in the rupees at this point, according to seed logic, it appears. It really looks a lot to me like Zora, but I mean, that's almost setting it up for the maximum possible troll at the same time.
Definitely. But with the flippers and already and everything, there's little reason to not go to Zora early.
Holy moly, boots, bows, and 300s. Oh my gosh, there's so much in the well.
Okay, now that makes something else incredibly attractive, and that's just going to Eastern Palace, lamp be damned. And I guess the bow was just a little bit delayed for them this time around, considering last 2 times there was an on-call, now it was in Kakariko Village. It's basically the same thing, honestly.
Yeah, such a very long progression to get there this time around, apparently. Hey, but it's better than try next. You could do worse.
It could definitely do worse.
So also of note, now that we have that bow, or not that bow, but those boots. 9 minutes or so into the run, well, actually, the run can start now.
Mm-mm.
Dashing through the village, and we already have a sword in the back of the tavern. Looks like the tavern's owner was considering an armed revolution.
Yeah, it's nice to have such a filled Kakrika village. It really sets the pace for the sea to be high, and it also means we're in a good position for our runners just diverging as we find the Bombos medallion as well in the library. The most useful of the medallions by far, considering it also gives you Ice Palace access in addition to possibly giving access to Mystery Mile or Tilted Rock.
Well, I'm inclined to agree, but I also have to raise the point that you can't bird toss with it. Shout out to Walrus Prime. He may be listening out there. It's a big day every day. Well, that's a fun thing to not have to come back to the library. But we haven't seen the book yet, so maybe we should come back to return that at some point.
I think our runners are consistent on being real late on the book returns.
Well, on the bright side, we appear to be able to afford the late fees, so no worries, Chad. I think we're in a commanding position here as Link and Zelda, respectively. Or actually, no, we have a different sprite on the left. I didn't even take it a moment to notice, but there are nearly 100 sprites that you can play as in the Randomizer that are not accessible, of course, in the base original game. Shout-outs, again, to the community for all of the hard work that people do for making these sprites, because they look amazing and they're fun to play as.
Yeah, the vast majority of the sprites were specifically made for the randomizer, though many of them are, of course, based on existing characters. Like we can see a character from Toho on gamercal's side on the left, I believe it's Marissa, and we have the Twilight Princess version of Princess Zelda over on Samura1man's side on the right.
That sounds correct to me. And we already have the shirt off the Hobro's back. That's Blue Mail under the bridge. Well, the mini Moldorm Cave typically has a lot of weapons and items. Sword, mirror, bug net, and a quiver upgrade.
That's a pretty good mini Moldorm Cave, and it also continues the trend we've had so far of a lot of items with a lot of, well, not currently a lot of options, but that mirror is going to be real handy later.
Yeah, as you're mentioning, it's just one component of the entire puzzle. We still need to find a Moon Pearl in order to get to the Dark World to kind of round out everything we need, and go figure, Samura1man finds it immediately alongside his lamp in Waterfall of Wishing.
That is also a super nice combo of items to find.
I'm not a frequent flyer, but this is looking like a jet seat.
Well, it might still have some surprises for us in store, you never know. Because we still have yet to find a single lift upgrade, despite all the other items we found, and those lift upgrades are real important and are also a key component to making the seats quick.
Well then, I don't know if you were looking at what the Zora was, but wow.
Yeah, it's not. It's still for Heroes. It seems like a pretty good investment for 500 rupees. gamercal, meanwhile, is displaying a real nice use of some water walking right here, which you can still set up even with flippers. You just need to avoid the shallow water because that will break the water walking state if you have flippers. He'll be picking up all those goodies Samura1man just picked up, considering I imagine he's going to do the full Zora Lake check here, because there's little reason he wouldn't.
Yeah, it looked like Samura1man in there was attempting a spin speed, fun thing that you can do in A Link to the Past. 1.0 version, of course. You can charge up a sword spin and hit the dash button the exact next frame, and it'll keep your sprinting speed and your walking animation. Did I see a flute in the back of Sahaswala?
Yes, it does look like that. Unlike you, Samura1man will be picking up a lot of frequent flyer miles very soon.
Yeah, Duck Airlines, we're inbound. And Sriracha Sauce also a frequent flyer mile, member. He may be on that platinum card.
Yeah, definitely looks like that with his own private duck jet in the back.
Well, we thank you for choosing Swag Airlines. Strap in, folks. It's going to be a quick flight. Samura1man having that silver arrows at his hips, I agree with this decision to go into Eastern Palace with the lamp as well.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be a real quick, easy clear. There's basically no harm in doing this because you're going to have to do it anyway because it's the crystal. Like, the only slight benefit you might have is you could route this in with Palace of Darkness, but with the flute in hand, that's really not something to worry about. Gotta be able to get here quick to the Palace of Darkness quick regardless without having to worry about combining it with these and Palace with one shaft of flute, really.
Yeah, so you mentioned it before, definitely a lot of opportunity for diversions. Of course, runners can, well, once they find that flute, they can go up to Death Mountain. No lift upgrade yet, though, so no hope of Dark World when we go up there. Definitely nice to have the option to, with the mirror, go up to Tower of Hera as well.
Yep,
With
and
that
with the
lamp,
hammer,
we can clear it.
Yep, and with the hammer, we can actually also go to the full east part of the Light World of Dead Mountain, so there's a lot of potential items to be had there.
Well, there's our compass. I don't believe we've seen the big key unless it was in that first chest. I did miss that one.
I don't believe it was in there, but we'll know in a minute what Samura1man will pick up the big chest immediately. Nope, looks like it's vanilla.
Oh, first chest was half magic, chat pointing out. That's an incredible find this early in the seed. Wow, this
Yeah,
seed's getting very friendly.
Yeah, you'd rather find out early than late. Also, you don't have that much useful things to spend it on, unless you're really like running around being invulnerable with Cane of Burden, of course, but still never any harm in having that half magic early.
And you could try cutscene strats if you wanted to spam bombos pretty much everywhere. Oh, that was a really nice damage boost to get the big key, vanilla big key by Samura1man there. All you gotta do to do that is bump into the popo that's in the room, use the invulnerability frames, pick up that pot, and stand on the switch when they expire, and that big key chest will show up without having to kill all the enemies in the room.
Yep. And doing it that way is also the optimal way of doing it. It's about the quickest and it costs the least amount of hearts. It's only 1.5 hearts. Well, you can also do like a double damage boost off the anti-fairies, but that'll take you 2 hearts of damage.
Well, we have another fun room here. I'm getting to show off some NMG stuff here in this run. We have a couple of Stalfos on gamercal's screen that are going to spawn one underneath the pot, one off screen, and we just kill the other 2 from the spawn point. Very fast.
Of course, doing that with the Master Sword Beams isn't really very NMG, but you know.
Fair enough.
That's one of the fun things about playing Rando is, in fact, the fact that you can do some of those things a little bit quicker than you would be able to do in the vanilla run. Just because you have all those items you're not intended to have yet.
And you also sometimes find fairy drops from Igor, so that was pretty funny looking.
There we go. 18 minutes in, we've got the first crystal of the match already. That's always a good sign.
Yep, and of course we've checked everything in here. Armos Knights had the barbacoa burrito for lunch today. Gamercal making his way through the dungeon as well is going to opt for that anti-fairy style damage boost skip that we were talking about. And had a little bit of trouble stepping on the switch, so took an extra heart of damage there.
Yeah, that's going to make a lot of difference for the rest of the clear here. 4 hearts remaining along with silver arrows, and the Master Sword makes everything here real comfy and easy.
Well, we mentioned before taking the express jet to every destination in Hyrule. Definitely available to us. Samura1man opting to save and quit to the Sanctuary to pick up these bonk rocks as well on the way through. Very smart routing to do that at this point.
Yep, and then straight off, activate the flute, and in all likelihood, go straight up Dead Mountain. Although, to win Samura1man's flutes, actually, since he hasn't done mini Bulldom Cave yet, he should probably use the flute to get 7 first and do that, now I think about it. last thing you want to do is go up the mountain without the mirror. Well, unless you have the hook shot, of course.
Yeah, hookshot would be a nice fast way to get to the right side, but we'll settle for hammer today. I think that's at least something.
Well, it does look like he's going straight for that mountain.
And of course, Samura1man's played plenty of Randomizer, knows that the old man will not give us a save and quit point or an item until we bring him back here.
Yeah, but it's interesting that he does appear to be in the cave, and that's just a limitation of the game itself.
This is actually secretly Doctor Who can be anywhere and any time and any place. Some timey-wimey stuff. Well, we get to see lots of fun speed tech now that we have all this equipment to work with. Samura1man almost got his spin speed all the way up to the top of the mountain, but a dead rock ruined his day on that one. If we had the hook shot, we could even add another item to the mix, doing an item dash on this staircase to climb the stairs much faster as well.
You can actually also trigger the extra speed if you have spin speed active and then place and pick up a bomb, but that's rarely worth the extra menuing, even if it looks real funny to do so.
I'm also a fan of doing that with Kena Samaria blocks, although sometimes you get some really weird effects, so I'm reluctant to try that, but I mean, it's really cool looking to see any kind of pickup strats to do that faster. I like where your head's at on that.
Well, this way, getting our second duck activation in just a tiny little bit, and unlike the Samura1man, for gamercal, this is going to be a more productive trip up that mountain, because he does already have the mirror.
Yeah, so fluid activation time kind of influencing how we would approach this routing. Samura1man, instead of doing just a save and quit to go to Link's house, now gets to flute to 7 instead and get the mini Moldorm Cave from here. And Agina's Cave becomes an easier check to make, so I'm wondering if they're going to check that in Desert Ledge shortly after doing these.
Yeah, they might actually, considering it is a little bit of ground retreading, and that's usually the last thing you want to do in a rando race, if anything. Though he might be a little bit more tempted to just do anything that isn't climbing that mountain, but of course, Tower of Hera is completable. There's just so many items up there.
And of course, we'll do everything we can in logic before we do Aghanim, and then we'll try sequence breaks to avoid Aghanim, and then we'll kill Aghanim, but reluctantly.
Definitely. Do kill Aghanim, we are in a really good spot to just immediately dive into and clear Palace of Darkness, however, if that turns out to be required, but of course our runners will be hoping to find the gloves up here. Unlike Samura1man, actually might just be going for it. This could be a real big decision. This could be a real big factor in the race, actually. Because if Aghanim turns out to be required and there's nothing good up that mountain, Samura1man just saved himself a ton of time. But if the reverse is true, he just cost himself a lot of time.
Yeah, it's one of those tough things. I mean, Palace of Darkness, we're finding out, is actually one of the 5-6 crystals, interestingly enough. So when we would do that with Hera might also be relevant. Things really unfolding differently than I would have expected. We see Samura1man serving up Din Din to those gold guards and walking out, interestingly enough.
He must have just realized the mirror allowed him more access to that mountain. Regardless, and just to fully complete everything for the remaining parts of the crystals. As mentioned, Palace of Darkness was a 5-6 crystal. Apart from that, the entire west half of the Dark World was pendants. Green pendant was at Skullwoods, and the other 2 pendants were at Thieves Town and Misery Maya.
Also, Sahasrahla locked behind the fire rod, interestingly enough. We're going to find out whether or not that becomes relevant by the end of the seed. I mean, it'll take us a while before we, find that fire rod, and it's definitely required regardless. Well, so at this point, we're going to find out pretty quickly whether or not Tower of Hero is worth making this play right away. Personally, I would definitely do it, though. I mean, if you can avoid that Aghanim.
Mhm. And as I mentioned, after Tower of Hera, you can just go to Eastern Mountain using the hammer, and there are a total of 8 more item locations. Check that. That could all be a lift upgrade.
Well, that's always fun and unfortunate to see at the same time. gamercal trying to do the bumper skip here. There's a small window where you can just dash right alongside the sprite for this bumper, and he accidentally dashed into the hole in the ground instead, and almost did it twice, but decided to go the safe route instead, maintaining a bit of a dungeon lead here in this dungeon over Samura1man because of that. You could definitely lose a lot of time falling in this place.
Yeah, speaking of losing a lot of time falling, it was almost a bounce straight into a pit off of Mordor.
Oh, that's a nervous moment.
I'm not certain if that counts as a spin or a poke, actually. Well, it doesn't matter. We're gonna have to do the refight anyway.
Yep, and if you've never played this game, Moldorm will restore all of his health every time you come back up. This is true of any boss that you could potentially walk away from. I mean, like, ROM hacks included if you were to have a hole in the floor that you wouldn't expect to normally have. The boss would heal if you came back and fight later. Or if you mirrored.
There we go, Moldorm down, and I do believe both the items here in Tower of Hera were found already, but I could be mistaken. We'll know in a minute if Cal goes back in.
Yeah, as that would be the key that would bring us to the basement if we still needed to check. I don't recall if we saw both, though. I think we saw the map. I'm not sure if we saw the compass. Well, it looks like your instincts were correct, dude. We absolutely do have all of the items of Tower of Hera. So those 8 on the east side are definitely up on the plate today. Up next, excuse me.
And just a piece of heart on the floating island in Desert Mountain, so that's of no interest. But 8 more spots to go, including a remarkably quick spiral cave check, because we do have the boots. This is how you want this cave to be checked, to be honest.
Yeah, if we didn't have those boots, it would be Pump Cave instead, where you're just mashing directional buttons to hopefully gain a couple frames. But Canis Samaria is a pretty good find.
Yep, even if there's nothing else to be found here, that's a good thing to have already, because we are going to need that for Turtle Rock later.
Well, we didn't get to see the Moldorm fight from Samura1man, just a little bit of latency with his stream on our end at least. But he does have everything done there. He's left the dungeon, and he's also making his way to the east side, so he'll have his cane shortly.
Yep, and the first 2 chests here in Moldorm Paradise Cave were okay, I guess. It's always nice to have a little bit more health, but let's see, there we go. Aghanim was not required, so it's just as well Samura1man did not go through with that.
Well, having Rando's remorse there, serving him well. So that Power Glove, I'm trying to think, what does that make available to us that we haven't already done?
Well, the entirety of the Dark World for a start.
Right, of course, you do have the Moon Pearl, and then we can open up the portals, the various portals. But I'm thinking in the Light World, then. I'm trying to think, I don't think there's any items needed.
In the Light World, not really. There's actually a very little in the Light World that is unlocked by the gloves. It's dead mountain normally, but, well, we already have the flute. The only other location in the Light World that's really puts our gloves locked in any way, shape, or order is nothing else than the Desert Palace boss. Technically, by logic, King Zora too, but nobody really cares about that part.
And of course, with the early flippers, we can, of course, take a whirlpool in there. But there's that cape the uncle was telling us about, not too far away from where the house would have been in the Light World, so maybe there's something to it. Well, Hype Cave is a pretty quick and easy check to make, and as you mentioned, it was very easy to go to Palace of Darkness immediately following that, and it appears that gamercal has the same sort of rationality that you do, because I think that makes a lot of sense. You get a lot of items here.
It is a very dense it is a very dense dungeon when it comes to item locations, and most importantly in this particular case, it's also required anyway. So, you know, let's just go there. We even have a mirror already, which makes routing the dungeon a lot better than not having a mirror.
Well, we had all of those rupees early on. We're not worried about paying off our extortionist friend Kiki the Monkey. Giving him 110 rupees to open up this dungeon, well, 10 of them to follow us first on Instagram. But with that, we still have more than we're going to need for the entire seed. We could fill up 2 blue potions and still have some to spare.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of money to be spent on the digging game and the chest game, but both of those are rather likely to give you refunds while you're doing them.
Yeah, that's also the case as well. Good point. All in all, most of the time, you're not going to need more than, say, about 700 to 800 rupees over the course of a seed. So we're definitely close to where we need to be. But with even that in mind, you know, we can still buy potions. It's kind of crazy to have all this money just half an hour in, and it's paying off pretty well.
That's an early big key. That opens up a little bit of interesting routing too. Like, it wouldn't surprise me to see gamercal or Samura1man, or both of them, skip the vanilla big key chest in the middle here, just until they're done with the dungeon and have either ruled out that A, it's an item, or B, it's not worth doing.
Yeah, so as you're mentioning, one of the rare opportunities to, you know, truly isolate an item in this dungeon, oftentimes we find ourselves full clearing it just for the sake of, hey, I don't want to get the logic wrong. You know, one weird miss here can be fatal to a run, so, you know, most runners are going to be careful, but yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good opportunity to take advantage of that.
I believe it's also at this point, due to the other items we've found so far, or more accurately not found so far, that both of the key next chest gamercal is picking up should be small keys.
Well, you've got better logic in regards to Palace of Darkness than I do, so I'm trusting your guesses from here on out on this one.
It looks like gamercal is just going to go for the immediate Helmasaur play, which is definitely an option if you find this early big key.
That might be the fastest I've ever seen anyone dive into Helmasaur King.
I mean, this is pretty close to what you hope for a go mode Palace of Darkness. Of course, we're not in the position where we're going to go mode yet. I imagine gamercal will be diving straight back into the dungeon after King Helmasaur is finished off, but it's certainly a possible play to just, while you're here in this right part of the dungeon, why not go straight to King Helmasaur anyway?
Yeah, and he barely spent any time going there, you know, or barely wasted any time getting there in the first place. Has another key to work with as well. So when we start back at the beginning of the dungeon, we can head right back through the central room and do all of the normal item checks as we would otherwise. Might be a situation that could call for something like a hammer yum.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you find the big key early in Rando, it is technically always worth doing the hammer yum, as long as you have an extra key to go back through the maze, because it is just a slightly faster routing that way. You spend a little bit less time walking back and forth, as long as you can do the hammer yum reasonably quickly.
Helmasaur King here takes 17 smacks to the face to knock off that face mask, and we have silver arrows, so that's a very reliable weapon to use. But the sword, pretty familiar for NMG runners to be having a master sword at this point. Not nearly as good as that one shot, one kill, 360 no scope to the face, though.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to see what Helmasaur drops for us. Well, Samura1man actually checks the back part of the dungeon first. Just a key for a key down in the harmless hallway.
Wow, both of the items we didn't really care for or didn't really want to even have to collect, but finding those compasses and maps respectively, in the basement does make every other item in this entire dungeon something we need to pick up in order to full clear.
Yeah, it also puts us at the point where, interestingly enough, I think, I might be wrong on this one, there might be something sort of another big key chest, but if gamercal counts his items properly, he might be leaving a lot of chests behind in Panels of Darkness here, with the knowledge they have to be keys on the map and compass at this point with what Samura1man has found so far.
And we got to see a really nice obscure bomb jump there from gamercal, getting from the left side of that room to the collapsing bridge room without having to deal with all those hard hat beetles. Very nicely done.
He avoids the hammy-ump, so he will be clearing basically all the chests. So if he's keeping track of his key count, he should be skipping the harmless hallway, much like Samura1man should be safer than knowledge that he can skip even on a big key chest, because that has to be a small key at this point.
Well, with all the knowledge that Samura1man has and all the checks that he's made, pretty much everything at this point, he's going to go take care of Helmasaur King. Meanwhile, gamercal only has a couple of things left to check here with the knowledge that he should have. Bombs in the dark maze, and then he has this and this room, this chest at the south of the room, and the big key chest as well.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning that looks like there weren't actually any particularly valuable items here in Panels of Darkness itself. However, it was our second 5/6 crystal, and that's a real early access to the Pyramid Fairy.
Well, that's pod for you. We are moving onwards, and we finished pretty much everything on the east side here. Where we go next is kind of an open book.
I have a feeling Cal is following the lure laid out by those 5 and 6 crystals, and he's going to be picking up the big bomb in a little bit.
Yeah, available to you early. It does take a little bit of time to go around to the east side through the Peg Bridge, but it does give you a good reason to check Pyramid and Catfish. Some more obscure locations that can be kind of difficult to route in based on the items you have available to you. Yeah, folks, if you're experiencing deja vu, it's because these two runners did their first 2 matches in this series literally at the same time the last 2 days.
Yep, got some nice hammering going on, and 1 shot, 1 kill on Helmasaur 2 for Samura1man. Both of our runners on equal footing with their crystal counts. And at this point, I believe they've actually both pretty much checked the exact same locations in the world.
That appears to be the case.
Just 300 rupees waiting for us on the pyramid, which is a lot of money, but it's not particularly valuable anymore. And nothing good waiting for us at the Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, adding insult to injury, we're picking up the arrows that we wanted to. Well, I mean, we didn't have full arrows in the first place, but we picked up the capacity after picking up the arrows, which is always like the least convenient way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seems like my instincts were correct this time about Overworld. We're going to check Catfish here, and then if we had missed anything, say like a ledge or Zora, this would be a good time to do it. We managed to get everything over there though, which was Moon Pearl today in that waterfall cave.
Yeah.
Very exciting to find there with a lamp, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, instead we are going to see a mirror from Catfish, but it's almost certainly just going to be to float to tree and start checking that part of the Dark World.
Well, we have all the equipment to do it. Folks, you might be interested to know that if you dash bonk off of the wall to the right of where gamercal is now, and catch the item by just moving straight north, you can get something called a quick warp, which saves you half a second on the time it takes from you to warp from Dark World to Light World. It's based on positions of the camera on screen, and anytime you warp, you can do it, or there's a possibility of doing it. So free time save, you just gotta learn where they are.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. It does help. At least for the locations that come up in the NMG run, there's usually setups for it, including the Catfish one that would my good friend Monastic just described for us.
Yeah, that's probably the most popularly well-known one. For example, one gamercal's that portal he's walking into. If you come in from like the bottom left corner, you'll get it every time. But it's just kind of weird. And like I mentioned before, it's based on camera position. So the way you get up to like Death Mountain impacts the way that portal at the top works. It's kind of complicated, but you just learn the setups. Looks like Village of Outcast though for gamercal. We talked before about getting refunds in the chess game. Looks like he got one there.
Yeah, it only cost 30 to play, and he got 70 rupees back there.
So an interesting situation and decisions to make here. We know that Skull Woods is the green pendant, but Thieves Town is a blue pendant. I'm wondering how soon they'll jump in there.
It'll be interesting to see, because we are running low on checkable overworld locations. We do have a couple more mirror spots to check, but without the myths, we're running out of overworld at this point.
And of course, going south from Village of Outcasts to check Cave 45 would force you to have to go through the portal again to access Dark World, which is kind of annoying. So that's something that some folks may choose to avoid for the time being. gamercal, though, is not checking Bumper Cave at all, it doesn't seem.
No, he might end up doing this on the way back from here. Depending on where he wants to go next, it doesn't really make a difference whether you go there first or you go here first, I don't think. Just some more bombs. So it's a pretty heads-up play to remember that you can get to Kingston with the mirror. You don't need Titansmiths to go now. And what does Graveyard Ledge holds for us? Well, Samura1man is actually heading into the front part of Skullwoods, which some runners actually just consider an extension of the overworld, really, because it's quick to check and it's so divorced from the rest of the dungeon that, you don't really lose time just by going in here.
Yeah, if you have access to the woods itself, you have access to these chests in this dungeon. Really no major requirements in order to progress through here. Fire Rod being the only thing that we absolutely have to have in order to finish the dungeon. As well as a sword, of course, for the curtain in the back half. Oh, that's interesting. We have a somebody in chat pointing out, in very astute observation, I believe a like in Skull Woods actually took Samura1man's shield.
Well, you don't need that thing anyway.
Kind of makes me wonder if he gets a shield progression upgrade, will that give him the next shield?
Yes, he will be getting the fire shields. It's also why the tracker will continue to just have the fighter shield marked, because as far as the game concerns, he's still on the fighter shield, even if he doesn't technically have it right now. And when another shield is found in a chest, he will be getting the fire shields immediately.
Well, here's that digging game. Randomized number of holes here before we find the item in question. It can be quite a few, it can be just a few. And then it'll be the same for both runners, unlike the vanilla game where it's completely random.
That, I believe, was a rod waiting for us over in Skull Woods. Due to the fuzziness of the stream, I couldn't quite catch whether it was fire or ice, but I imagine somebody will fill us in shortly. That does look like it was the ice rod.
Yeah, shoutouts to our tracker Oski, who has been doing a fantastic job in every race I've seen you on. Thank you. Well, there are a lot of caves in Hyrule. We tend to call this the 45th cave, or Cave 45, with the Titansmiths today. That's a great place to find them. Somewhere a lot of people might be avoiding for a little bit.
Well, that does put the ice rod Samura1man found earlier in an interesting spot, because at this point there are a lot of locations open game account that are a lot more attractive than going into Skullwoods. So the question is, will he even bother checking that before he sets his eyes on conquering Turtle Rock without that Ice Rod and without the ability to actually kill Trinex?
Yeah, that's one of those gambits you don't want to make, but sometimes you feel like you're forced into, and sometimes it's the right play, sometimes you lose the race because of it. It's just a very frustrating item in general. So Peg Cave and King's Tomb, pretty long divergences, or not divergences, but pretty long time sinks, and not valuable either.
Mhm. Yeah, but it does mean that Samura1man does have his eyes set on the mirror overworld locations, and it does need to go to K45 for the Titansmiths. You find the shovel on the blacksmiths. That's rather convenient, in fact. Be taking this purple chest along anyway, and well, he won't be able to rouse it in with the K45 check, considering he already picked up the Titesmiths there. He's still going to be going along the grove here, and picking up his shovel item along the way.
Yeah, so we know Samura1man's already, or we know that Samura1man still has to do all of these things, so if he decides to do the smith chain in the same order, this will actually work out pretty well, but yeah, you have to have those Titansmiths first, so yeah, that's a pretty annoying way to have to go through there, isn't it? I mean, at least they're all pretty tightly, grouped together, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of the missing shield,
Yep, Samura1man is continuing his dive into Pendant Dungeons, showing us what what Thievestown has. Could be all kinds of goodies waiting in here.
or a lunch pail full of controlled substances.
Yep, looks like Cal is gonna immediately make use of that. Just gonna drain his magic right here to set up a little trick we call the fake powder glitch. And you do need empty magic to do that. I will explain more as we get to it.
Yep, so there he is, spamming his lamp to drain his magic as much as possible.
Then you use the Kingdom area, or attempt to use it, and you immediately switch to the mushroom, and for whatever reason, that causes powder to happen.
Game's weird, man.
It's worth mentioning that that also works if you have no magic and you have the powder. If for whatever reason you want to powder something while out of magic, you never know, it might happen.
Ah, yes, the patented fake powder.
But
Samura1man almost had the Hellway dash there.
Yeah, he almost had the God Pixel, but it was just a teeny bit off. But it's usually a good idea to just quickly check what that item in the bath has if you're in the position with the mushroom. Because, well, once you've handed the mushroom, it's gone forever, and in this particular case, it's going to be giving you a piece of heart, just like the bat. But you never know, you might have missed out on something big by doing that. Like one of the races I commentated earlier in the tournament had an incredibly important item on the bat and an incredibly inconvenient place for the powder, so you never know.
Well, it's almost as bad as that one time I found Hammer there. That's
And we see Ether is required for the Misery Maya.
The bird toss memes are still alive, folks. You know, what is it with this series and keys under the doormat?
Just being true to life.
Yeah, this is not the first time that we've seen that in this series. This actually happened to them with the Mire Shed itself last time. And I believe it was Ether last time as well, but I'm not entirely certain on that one.
I know I've also seen it happen plenty with the medallion for Turtle Rock hiding in nothing else than Hookshot Cave.
Well, it could potentially be a pretty large time sink, but it's got to be tempting to go in there now that you have that medallion. I mean, obviously we're going to check desert first since we have the boots, but jeez.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So far, gamercal has been doing its best to avoid doing dependent dungeons entirely, though, so I think we won't be seeing him make that play.
But at the same time, Samura1man has finished pretty much everything in Thieves Town, is now working on blind and having a really good blind fight overall.
Yep, there we go, no problem at all. It's the heart and the pendant as rewards. No items of value in Thieves Town, it looks like. Well, unless the pendant turns out to be important, we are just a fire rod away from being able to clear all of our pendant dungeons, so you never know.
Yeah, and that could potentially lead to hookshot, couldn't it?
Ah, yes, it could.
Well, that's certainly something. If we see the message boing, boing, boing on the pedestal itself when we use that Book of Medora, if we ever get the Book of Medora, we may end up blind pulling this instead. But that would be the message we could see.
Runners will, of course, hope to avoid even having to contemplate looking at the pedestal, but you never quite know with Rando.
Well, while gamercal is heading into the Lamolus fight, Samura1man here is going to be practicing his digging strategy. Plenty of digs to do here, and I thought he was about to draw as a pyramid in the ground. But I was wrong.
No, so he seems to be drawing a bowler hat, so no, never mind. He broke it. Ooh, that was smooth. Very smooth. Lamola's kill for a tempered sword for gamercal.
What a great reward, holy smokes. And you're absolutely right, that was about as fast as a one cycle gets. I mean, pretty much the first frame that Lamolus popped out, or at least the last one, it was down, so as close to optimal as I can think of.
And I have a feeling gamercal's next destination with the tempered swords and Bombo's medallion in hand is going to be Ice Palace.
Yeah, we have pretty much everything we could hope for or need here. Fire Rod would be a nice convenience to have, of course, but Bombo is certainly serviceable, and with half magic, we're not really hurting for magic either.
Yeah, and the tempered sword in particular will also make the boss of this dungeon dramatically easier than having a master sword.
I mean, when you're in a dungeon as cold as ice, you need to bring the heat. And that fire sword pretty much going to be the best weapon that we could hope for in this scenario.
Yeah.
Cold Stare, one of the few bosses where a gold sword would actually make a difference.
Yeah, the gold sword is about twice as fast, give or take, whatever time you give for breaking the ice on Cold Stare, just through the simple means of doing double the damage.
Now, damage classes are a weird thing in the programming of this game. Generally speaking, your sword upgrades are a doubling of your damage for most things, including, for example, Cold Stare. But there are some exceptions out there, and some things that you take a set amount of damage from regardless. Any spikes that you walk into will always do a harder damage no matter what melee upgrade you have. Well, so chat pointed out the gamercal only had to go to the left side of desert in the front half. Hopefully Samura1man has the same, clairvoyant kind of vision of the logic, remembering, where potentially these items are.
Alright, Samura1man, let's go for the big key, and then the big key chest, which I believe we saw already in this one of the two items. It looks like he will be full clearing the dungeon, because otherwise he would have used the mirror by now, and that's an understandable choice as well. Just in this particular case, the second item happens to be on nonetheless.
Yeah, all things being considered, routing is really not that bad for this dungeon. I mean, this is the ideal way we'd prefer to do it if we didn't have any kind of randomizer. If we could just put the items wherever we wanted in a planned seed, that's the fastest way to check every chest and still get the whole dungeon.
Definitely.
When gamercal doesn't have a hook shot, you might be wondering, what's he doing in this room? There's some pretty cool bomb jumps in this dungeon.
I personally prefer the setup for that one facing left rather than up, because if you do that, you don't even have to worry about repositioning slightly after placing your bomb, because if you're at that lowest pixel and place your bomb facing left, that's it. You're in the right position for the bomb jump.
A lot of these bomb jumps requiring us to be as close to the ledge as possible, so that we get sent as far away from the ledge as possible. So sometimes doing a sword spin to try and force Link to be standing on solid ground, that's oftentimes a very handy strat for any kind of bomb jump, as well as looking at where Link's shadow is or the sprite. It does sometimes make a difference, so if you're going to do bomb jumps, you should practice with the sprite that you prefer to play as.
Yep, no harm in setting up a random ROM at a couple of safe states in likely locations for you to practice your bomb jumps.
And hey, you could even do the practice hack by Poor Little Pincus made for the NMG community. Works perfectly fine. You can even edit the inventory in that.
Yeah, it does take a couple of extra steps to get your custom sprites in that ROM hack, so that's why I suggest the random ROM option instead if you're wanting to practice with a sprite of your choice.
Yeah, I was just saying that. You raised a good point. A little bit lapse of memory there, but thank you for the correction. So a multitude of options available to you out there as well. If you're looking to get into Randomizer, there are maps, of course, made of all the dark rooms. There are lists with all of the number of potential random items that are in any given dungeon. Plenty of ways to improve your game, and maybe you'll join us in the next tournament. Certainly a lot of people joining this one. Randomizer's been exploding. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, this tournament was in fact as big as we could make it on the websites used to manage these tournaments challenge. We were at the 512 person cap for the initial stage of the tournament. The bracket itself is of course narrowed down to a mere 128 people, which is still a ton of people, and we'll be going through as many rounds as it takes until we get a final true winner out of this one wonderful tournament.
Yeah, and of course, people who are fans of the vanilla speed game as well, we always like to talk about everybody in the Link's Past community, as we are one community altogether, whether we're doing the same things. Their tournament for the NMG has just reached semifinals, so that's almost over as well. And you can catch all of that here on Speed Gaming as well.
And this is definitely worth a watch. Yeah. It's real fun to actually watch the game being played as intended by the developers, pretty much.
And another thing I love about it is the share of information. Both communities have basically taken a role in learning about that spooky action glitch. Raspberry Floof, as part of the randomizer community, was responsible for pointing out some weirdness with the fire rod in this particular boss fight that gamercal's in, and that spurred the search that eventually led to the time save.
And yeah, that is an interesting little glitch. I still need to actually experiment with learning it properly myself. I haven't really gotten around to it.
But not to miss it completely, gamercal just showed us a really great cold stare. Kept him in the corner, and that's pretty much how you would do it in NMG.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, besides the half magic bombos, but pretty close.
Yeah, normally you'd be using fire rod shots, of course, but well, we're lacking a little bit in a particular item to be able to do that being the fire rod itself.
You know, speaking of that fire rod, if you do carry fire rod into the cold stare fight, if you have sword beams, you can do a really nice bit of tech. Where if you line up sword beam, swings with the fire rod shots, you can actually do extra damage to the shell and use half as much magic to destroy it, leaving yourself some fire rod in the second phase if you'd like to use that. Very nice safety, but it's kind of difficult to do.
Yeah, it's definitely fun, and that particular trick isn't all that hard to actually do once you get the rhythm down.
Yeah, I prefer to use it myself. It's just nice to know that I can get him from a distance.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we'll be getting a quick look at what the medallion for Total Rock is, and I imagine if it is Bombos or Eater, gamercal will open the dungeon right now, so he might not. Well, he'll definitely not go straight into it, I imagine.
You know, with Bombos being the medallion required, though, I'm wondering, because you would find out pretty quickly if you're locked with that fire rod. I suppose it's not that big of a gamble to go in. It's a time sink, but it could definitely hurt more.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, because in his shoes, he doesn't have the ice rod yet, so he might be inclined to check the rest of Dark Dead Mountain first before going in there, but nope, he is going straight for Total Rock.
I gotta think he's thinking, that first chest in the bottom left corner, the hub room. If that has something great, if not, no big deal. But saving a potentially deeper second dive that he would otherwise make if he came back here later. I'm thinking that's probably where his head's at.
There's a key there, so we can go deeper into the dungeon, and if the key layout is correct in the randomizer, it can actually allow you to go all the way to the laser bridge without the fire rod.
And that would be the most ridiculous place to find the fire rod, but if it's in logic, it's possible, so we'll check Chain Chomp room here first, or Bow Wow room, depending on which Zelda you're looking at.
Like, if any of these upcoming chests aren't keys, or in the case of the vanilla big key location, if that isn't a big key, then that's it. Our exploration of this dungeon is complete, but as it stands, we can continue.
If it ends up being fire rod on laser bridge, I am going to be... I don't even know if I'm going to have words for that.
I mean, if it's going to be fire rod and laser bridge, that is actually somewhat unfortunate, and yet also kind of fortunate for gamercal. Because on the one hand, he will have to make a double dip into Turtle Rock, guaranteed, because the ice rod is waiting for him in Skull Woods. But on the other hand, it is such a bad and unlikely location for the fire rod that people usually don't look there. But never mind, we find a small key here. And not having a big key yet, that means the big key has to be locked by the fire rod.
Yeah, so with that knowledge in hand, nothing else that we can do here. gamercal might not be remembering that. We'll find out shortly as he's going to come face first into a big key.
There is one more thing he can actually do, and that's Mimic Cave.
Well, that certainly explains why he's heading this way. And he also gets a vanilla fairy drop from that Pokey. That's very interesting.
Yeah, he must have RNG manipulated that by not killing the guards in Anchor Tower.
There's that knowledge. I love it. Yeah, the prize packs actually are still shared by the same enemies in this randomizer, but the contents are different. So, if there were a blue guard of that particular variety that we would have killed, that could also have been RNG manipulation. But today it's just going to be simple kill manipulation.
Yeah, there is.
Samura1man did just finish Cold Steer as well.
He is also heading straight up that mountain. And just a red mill for us in Mimic Cave, so this detour into Turtle Rock was not worth doing. It is a double tip with no payoff.
Yeah, I gotta admire his gusto, but not gonna pay off on this one at all. But I mean, having that red mail, despite having 11 hearts, maybe if it saves his life, I guess it's worth it.
And regardless, gamercal is definitely going to check the rest of Dark Dead Mountain while he's out here. Why wouldn't you? interesting to see what he opts to do if he does find the fire rod here.
Yeah, that would be a kick in the face. But, you know, he would be probably more inclined to dive back in. We know that the ice rod, I believe, was in Skull Woods, right?
Yes, it was. Was in the vanilla big key chest in Skullwoods in particular, the one behind that annoying statue block thing.
While Super Bunny Cave's a bust, there is one potential chest we can check in Hookshot Cave that we can bonk to. Gamercal probably gonna check that next, I think.
Nope, there wasn't anything worth our time in Dark Mountain for now. Gamercal is of course going to finish off his trip here with a quick dip into the Spike Cave, because why wouldn't he? Well, we already know from Samura1man earlier that there isn't anything worth your while in there.
We already saw that Spike Cave was not valuable, but Gamercal will make sure he gets that check. Both of our runners depleting their health all the way to half a heart, possibly even a quarter of a heart in this cave. Very gutsy strats, but just making sure.
I mean, it does make sense, because after you do the obligatory save and quit here, you do get a bunch of your hearts back, but you don't get the magic back. So you always want to deplete those hearts first.
Also, Samura1man has the same choice in front of him. He's going to check this compass room chest, but does he continue further into the dungeon, kind of sniffing a trail that did not lead to anything? No mirror selected, looking like it.
And looks like gamercal is going to give us Misery Maya.
But does he give us memes? Does he give us bird tosses? Is it a big day? Stay tuned, folks. Crossing my fingers, last time he killed it.
He's taking it with him. He wants pets in the dungeon, I guess. Unfortunately, it melts upon reaching the heat inside of the actual dungeon.
Well, bird tosses are a fickle thing. Sometimes you just gotta carry the bird. And Gamercal at least acknowledging the memes. Gotta admire that, man. So here in Misery Mire, this is a pendant dungeon, and there's only 2 items available to us here. Plenty of time sink, though, available to us. We're going to check this first, chest in the bridge, and if it's a big key, that'd be Godmire, but not necessarily what we're hoping for anyway.
Yeah, and I do believe that due to the amount of, due to the fact that Samura1man has, in the meantime, has actually checked most of Snowwoods and Thieves Town, there should be something valuable hiding in here. Remains to be seen, of course. And there is also the Swamp Palace play, but nobody wants to go into Swamp Palace with that hookshot if they can avoid it.
Yeah, the big time sink involved there is just getting into the dungeon. Once you're there, I mean, you know, if you mirror out and go right back in, you know, that's nowhere near as painful as having to drain the swamp twice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some discussion in chat about the fetch quests that we've had in this seed. You know, Smith Chain leading us to Shovel and the Mushroom. Some craziness with that purple chest, you know, having that there. So we didn't end up getting anything for it, but both of our owners ended up doing both things. So no time lost or gained in that regard.
Actually, I do believe Samura1man never delivered the purple chest, if Tracker is correct on his end, because he hasn't got the mushroom, and I don't remember him doing it.
So that skip could represent some time saved for Samura1man here.
Yeah, definitely. Or it could be something he could be tempted into doing later. go. Almost time for the big chest, and you do need to boost to be able to get that in time. Ooh, just an arrow capacity upgrade. Not what I'm looking for.
Yeah, the alternative strat for that bridge is to use a hook shot. We don't have that here, so kind of forced to use our boots. I gotta call it out though. Very interesting rupee count for Samura1man. He's having some pretty good fortune here. It looks like.
Now it's guaranteed to do 777 damage with all his attacks, isn't he?
I'm loving the video game references here. Very nicely done.
There we go. We get a rather slower than usual torch room with the, well, the torch being required to light the lamps as opposed to having the fire rod for a little bit of shooting through blocks as we usually do. And then we get the slowest feeling cutscene in the game. It is actually just as long as the one in Desert Palace is, or perhaps not in Desert Palace, it's the one in Palace of Darkness is, but as you can't see the wall moving, it always feels twice as slow.
Kind of like trying to watch water boil. It's just not going to happen if you're staring directly at it. Well, that puts us on our path to Vitreous. We didn't see anything funny in terms of setting some altitude variable with the bird when we flew it in here. At least I don't think we did. So
no,
that
I don't
particular
think we did
setup.
either. We do, however, have time. We do, however, have the final remaining item in Misery Maya being on none other than Vitreous.
And silver is at our disposal and tempered sword. I mean, you could pick and choose which strat you want to use, but 5 hearts left and no powder to work with, unless you want a fake powder. I don't see why gamercal would, do anything but silver arrows here.
Yeah, no, the silver arrows should be. I believe the silver arrows just due to the sheer amount of damage to do and the fact that you want to finish off the big eyeball with arrows anyway, will have the slight edge on the kill speed.
And Samura1man back in business with a shield finally, having picked it up from the flute or the flute boys, grove. I'm going to head to turn in that mushroom now. No, actually heading to Kakariko.
And let's see, that was a smooth Vitreous, but what does he hold? It's the Fire Rod. It does mean that, as far as we know, Turtle Rock is fully beatable at this point. But the Ice Rod is still waiting for gamercal over in Skullwoods, and the question is, will he decide to go there, or will he go back into Turtle Rock, turning it into a potential triple death for him?
Yeah, that's the tough thing as a runner in his position. You have to kind of make a call or a gut check. You found that one rod, and a lot of the dungeon didn't really appeal or, help you out much. But climbing that mountain 3 times would be absolutely crushing. So I think you have the right idea. I think gamercal's heading to these, pendant dungeons now, realizing that he needed to check these sooner.
Yeah, and if he's going for Thieves Town and full clearing that first, he might be setting up for a blind pedestal full after Skullwoods, if anything.
Certainly on the table, and we would be seeing we'd be seeing all the dungeons of the game cleared if that's the case, which kind of mirrors what happened last time they raced this.
As we already know, he isn't going to fight anything here in Thieves Town. Beyond the pendant itself, of course. Meanwhile, I expect we'll be seeing Samura1man make the play on Misery Maya shortly, though he needs to fix his magic situation if he wants to enter that dungeon. Well, I do believe both of our runners found a green goo, and I believe gamercal actually used this, so yeah, there we go.
All right, we have an opportunity to be 2 for 2 on spicy meme stats today. Samura1man also faced with a choice. As a bird that wants to murder him, what does he do? Does he show him compassion? Does he throw him in the lake? Does he heat him up by bringing him in the dungeon? Stay tuned, folks. Walrus Prime probably is saluting you somewhere.
Let's see. Does gamercal? Nah, you're a little bit too far to the left. Sorry. Almost had got pixel, but you know, sometimes you just miss it.
And then, of course, RNG can completely ruin your day anyway, so nothing to put a ton of stock into, but it's always nice when you see it, and it's a great feeling when you get it.
It does feel really nice to just run straight up that really annoying room without stopping.
Well, gamercal is definitely making a fast run through Thieves Town despite not getting that God Pixel. Samura1man has still got to find that fire rod, so it's going to be a full clear for him as far as we can tell.
Yeah, I do imagine he'll be going for that, because if it's a crystal, if Mystery Mire is a crystal, you might be tempted to just skip go for Fiturious quickly, just get your crystal and hopefully the last item out of the way. But when it's a pendant like this, you'll often see runners just go for the full clear.
You know, we also have chat bringing up an interesting dynamic that is approaching for our runners. We know that gamercal is going to have to go to Skullwoods after this and may potentially check the pedestal, but Samura1man will have a choice to make after this dungeon. Do we head into Turtle Rock knowing we can clear it, potentially finding the hookshot in there, or do we go to Swamp Palace, which could potentially have that hookshot and save as a trip up Death Mountain?
There's definitely a lot of options available for us still for our runners, even this deep into the season. That's interesting to see. And I do imagine that once he does get the fire rods, going back up to Turtle Rock and clearing the dungeon will be incredibly attractive for Samura1man.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I mean, the extra Death Mountain ascent, not too bad, but you know you can clear the dungeon. So, you know, double dipping Swamp Palace, I feel like hurts more than an extra mountain climb, at least psychologically, and in my opinion.
It's also worth mentioning that by that point, you are one item away from go mode, so... And you've pretty much full cleared the rest of the world, barring the pedestal in Samura1man's case. And it's like, well, I do Turtle Rock first. Even if I don't find the hookshot there, I can pretty safely count on the fact that the hookshot will probably be in Swamp Palace. So, in his shoes, I'd definitely be going into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, when you bring up those points, I mean, I'm inclined to agree. You know, Swamp Palace I've always considered to be valuable just because of the item density, but without hookshot, you know, that's a limited amount. I mean, there's 4 whole things you can't get in the back half.
And yeah, gamercal is heading straight for Skullwoods. It'll be interesting to see because he's going to find his ice rod about halfway through the Skullwoods clip before he gets the modular. What will he do? Will he continue on this path he seems to be on to clear the pedestal? Or will he just leave early and go back to Turtle Rock and make this potentially a real close race?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely made the case for, you know, these item checks being of value, with the green pendant also being this dungeon's pendant, and then being the last one that he's completing. It's kind of funny how that works out. Usually you see it the other way around. But that could make this even more appealing to finish up. And this is a pretty fast dungeon anyway.
Yeah, definitely, because once he does find the fire rod, he'll have both the ice rods in here. He'll have both the items ready, so it's just a straight shot to the modular at that point, and with the template sword in hand, it's going to be a really quick fight. Speaking of really quick fights, that's victory is almost down already, and there we go. That is going to be the fire rod for Samura1man. It'll be interesting to see what he does next. We do know he's going to pull out a mirror and followed by the flute, but where will he flute to? And he's off to one, and in all likelihood to Turtle Rock.
Yep, so as far as we can tell, this is likely a good play from what we've just discussed, but we don't know. It's Randomizer, anything can happen, and maybe it is on pedestal. That's still on the table, interestingly enough.
Yeah, and it does look like gamercal is in fact continuing through Skull Woods, having picked up the Ice Rod and its potential to clear Turtle Rock. He's probably thinking to himself that he'd better not waste the time spent on Thieves Town now.
Yeah, and we see that a lot in Randomizer, whether or not it's a best of 3 series, trying to double down on the decisions that you do make. If it ends up paying off that it was on pedestal, it's a big win for gamercal to find that out. If not, then he knows that he's just, running from behind and will be keeping an eye out for a dot done, but trying to do his best to, move as quickly as possible from that point forward.
This right here, ooh, you don't want to be grabbed by that hand, especially when you're a mushroom.
Yeah, just a quick little door nudge. That's all it takes.
But this right here could make all the difference in this race.
All time to burn down the moth. We did not see this from Samura1man.
Yep. It's just 4 regular swings, assuming Mochila actually cooperates and is in a position where he doesn't go invulnerable from being hit into spikes, and then we have the boss down already.
That
He
big
actually
swing is a
dropped
bit
the
of a troll.
second- Yeah, and he actually dropped the second item in Skull Woods. I thought we already found the other item in the front, so that certainly explains Cal's play a little bit more. There's 3 potential items are locked behind killing Mochila here.
Well, I mean, you're here. I guess you have to pull the pedestal. Well, chat, are you ready?
Let us see what is hiding here. Could it be? It is the Master Heart.
Was that possibly even the Master Saint card? I don't know if he wasn't missing any health.
He wasn't missing any health, so I couldn't tell, unfortunately.
Well, we haven't found it elsewhere, so in my book, that's the Master Saint card of our dreams.
But it looks like he'll be going straight up that mountain now. Not bothering with... Ooh, he is showing off that little bit with the Kane of Samura we were talking about earlier now.
Yeah, it's always fun to see. Unfortunately, though, you don't have the spin speed leaving the ladder if you do that, so the ideal way to do it is get kind of close to the top and then do another spin speed, but the optimization, not huge. But if you don't have the hook shot...
Yeah, we're almost covering new ground. The Fire Rod pots, Fire Rod locks part of Turtle Rock just containing 2 keys, 1 small, 1 big, but new stuff here, and it's up B in a bottle.
So folks asking in chat why we would not check on a Sahar Shalarsh, with that green pendant before we come up here. You don't technically need the hook shot to finish this dungeon, so I mean, while it does save time, if you can skip it altogether from finding hookshot in here, it's worthwhile to not have turned in it at all.
Exactly. There is at this point, there is a tiny potential time save if the hookshot had been on Sahara, but there is you might as well just do it after.
Also worth noting that this isn't our last crystal dungeon yet, so I mean, you also know that you're going to climb the mountain again, regardless.
Gamercal, you do not have to hook shot yet.
Well, it's going to be a long, long platform of shame.
Yeah, that is really unfortunate. Yeah, we're going to see the meatiest part of chest when it comes to chests in Total Rock here on Samura1man's side. Is the hookshot hiding for us on the laser bridge?
Oh, Master Sinkheart deconfirmed.
Just one more chest here on the laser bridge. And it's the compass,
So we still
might still be an item. Yeah, there might. Yep, there is definitely still an item hiding for us on Trinex.
This is getting tense. I mean, Green Pendant and... I mean, I can't think of a whole lot else that they haven't checked in the overworld.
Yeah, no, the other remaining option is that the hookshot has been waiting for us all along in Swamp Palace. So that's pretty much going to come down to, for Samura1man, go for Skullwoods or Swamp Palace if the hookshot isn't on Trinex. And of course, which of those is the correct one?
It's such a bad gambit to have to make, so I feel kind of bad for Samura1man if it isn't here. But we're going to find out shortly. The Tempered Sword Trinex killed, not too bad to do with half magic. Oh, in chat, people asking about why you can dash through doors and bonk on others. It's called a key dash. And yeah, actually, somebody in chat just posted a pretty good text explanation. So let's see what we get on Trinex here.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that text explanation is that, generally speaking, if you align yourself against a wall, ooh, a mirror shield on Trinex. But generally speaking, if you align yourself on a wall, you will be a nice multiple of 4 pixels away from a door.
You could also look at most sprites on screen or most objects on screen as being on kind of like a 4-coordinate grid, or 4-pixel coordinate grid. So like if you were to nudge past an object, say like a chest on the ground, you'll usually key dash if you hit the wall from there.
But yeah, it's worth mentioning that the tile size for this game is 16 by 16 pixels, so that is why that can actually help quite a bit. But it looks like Samura1man is going, judging by the fact that he pulled out the fire rod and went up the tree, he is going to go for Skullwoods and likely the pedestal, followed by Sajrala. So if either of those locations, if Sajrala in particular is the location, or even if it isn't, this race suddenly got a lot closer because Samura1man is now making the potentially time-costly plays, or potentially time-saving plays gamercal was making earlier.
I mean, this is great news for gamercal, who was potentially 5 to 7 or maybe even more minutes behind. Now we're finding out that if he finishes up Trinex here and then heads straight to Hazrela, he's either going to find the hookshot there or he'll be in Swamp Palace first, putting him a little ahead. Kind of interesting how this turned out. Of course, though, all sorts of things can still change for our runners, up to and including Ganon's Tower itself. So, definitely not a point where anybody should be counting anybody out.
No, the race is far from over. With how long the Trinex fights takes compared to much of the fight, I think we'll be seeing a fairly close to sync boss kill in just a little bit.
Yeah, depending on Moth's friendliness today, I suppose. Well, gamercal's having a pretty good Trinex. Samura1man having a bit of a spike party right now with Mothula, but has plenty of magic to work with. We'll finish off Mothula at the same time as gamercal finished off Trinex. He had the precise, correct idea there.
Yep, now we have the green pendant, which might be important, and the crystal, which is definitely important. Samura1man is likely going for the pedestal pull next, something that gamercal already did, so gamercal is technically a teeny tiny little bit ahead.
Good thing for Samurai-Man, though, he doesn't walk out completely empty-handed. He will at least get a heart container from this, so a consolation prize, but a prize nonetheless. Well, let's see if Sriracha Sauce has what we need today.
Yeah, and I imagine that'll be the next check on Samura1man's mind as well, considering he went out of the way to do this. And it's just 100 rupees, and I do believe, unless I've forgotten about something, which is very possible, that means we have a hookshot waiting for us in none other than Swamp Palace.
The only thing I can think of is Bumper Cave. I don't know if either of our runners checked it.
That was checked, it was just plus 10 bomb capacity.
Okay, yeah, and that should be everything. Also now, that's the thing though, is we could find Book in Swamp Palace, and that could lead us to leave the dungeon again, but if not, I mean, do you think it's going to be vanilla?
I mean, it could be. It could very well be waiting for us in the big chest, with even the key itself being on the left side, on that right-hand chest. You never know. At this point, our two runners are at, well, nearly equal pace. I actually didn't realize Samura1man never checked the Ice Rod Cave. But, well, gamercal, we can safely say that gamercal has a little bit of a head start, considering he is already at this particular place. Oh, and it looks like Agnes Cave was skipped by Samura1man as well, but I do believe gamercal checked that, and it wasn't anything worthwhile either.
Well, barring any major surprises, this should be an advantage for gamercal here. Could potentially even find it in this chest would add quite a bit of insult to injury, as this has been available for a while. And there it is!
That's impressively horrid, but it is really good news for gamercal, because that officially puts him in nothing other than go mode. Having cleared all almost all dungeons in the game already. That's at least the rest of Swamp Palace here. He can just go through without any worry for any of the other items.
Oh, the places we could have go before this mode.
That is rare to see a seed in which you're free to basically clear the entire world prior to hitting go mode. Obviously, there are a couple of locations out there still locked by the book, like the tablets, but
yeah, we've hit pretty much all the notes that we could here, though. And gamercal is just gonna steal that key and run right back. We are in go mode after all, so this is gonna be a very quick dungeon. And Samurai-Man pretty much hot in his heels. This is what, maybe a minute, 2-minute difference.
Yeah, we could definitely be seeing routing choices in Ganon's Tower making a difference here. And it's funny to note that, apart from the Ice Rod being found in Skullwoods, and of course the Fire Rod being off Vitreous, otherwise the Pendant Dungeons, well, I just lost my point by saying where those two rods were, didn't I? Abandoned Dungeons were actually really important in this particular seed. The only one that was a complete bust was Thieves Town.
Yeah, for the most part, the regular contents of the dungeons, not the most important things, but, you know, for those boss kills, definitely got us things we wanted. Skullwoods had us Tempered Sword, and then, of course, the Fire Rod on Vitreous. Alright, so I know it's a little obscure, but do we see a Zero Cycle attempt here?
It doesn't look like it. Setting up the hook dash for the full damage dash perks here is rather annoying to do, so most people here opt for the very slightly slower one cycle here.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about this boss fight. It has the hardest fast kill and the least amount of time saved from doing it.
Yep.
And our reward for that is irrelevance, a big key. But I believe we're coming up on a fun game we like to play, aren't we?
Yeah, we sure are. This is about the point in which we start the big key guessing game. A number between 1 and 22 is what we expect to run you in chat, and our lovely bot will actually keep track of your numbers if you are a subscriber or supporter of Speed Gaming. If you get the name correct, your name... If you get the number correct, your name might be entered on the leaderboard.
Yep, and that operates on a first-come, first-served basis. So get your guesses in, folks. You know, we're going to be cutting that off as soon as we see our current leader, I suppose, gamercal, enter the basement of Ganon's Tower. And then, of course, even if you're not a subscriber or donator, you know, still feel free to chime in with your guests. You know, we'd love to have everybody play. But, dude, where do you think we're going to find our Ganon's Tower big key today?
Let's see. I usually like saying that it's in that one double firebar room. You know the one.
Yeah, and if we go right then left, that would typically be number 8. I'm a big fan of Bob myself. I'm hoping for number 14 today.
Yeah, Bob is always a fun spot for it too.
Yeah, so we're still in territory where a divergence of routing in Ganon's Tower could make a difference. And then, of course, execution is the hardest dungeon of the game by a long shot as far as, you know, completion goes, with a lot of kill screens as well, lending ourselves to a fair amount of RNG that could actually impact us.
Yeah, the gauntlet, as you are referring to, is a pretty impressive feat of execution, but even the basement checking in an efficient manner is filled with all kinds of heavy execution and unusual item usage.
Well, chest number 1 was the remaining medallion, and we also got a small key, gamercal opting to go left instead of using that small key immediately to the right. That could represent the difference we end up seeing in routing.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, and there is the big key, so that was the right decision gamercal made by not checking the right side there. And that also means that, well, just 3 locations in, and we've already found the big key. And it looks like our winner for today was Barrett777. Congratulations on being the first person to guess correctly.
Well, with a name like that, I'm sure the luck was ordained, wasn't it? So this does remove a lot of the potential variance, although Samura1man could still potentially commit hard to the right side. If he goes left first trying to do Dark Magician, he'll actually have the fastest possible big key. Remains to be seen.
Yeah, that's definitely there's mostly potential for him losing a little bit of time here if it's random routing very commonly being that you go farther right if you find the key on the right side.
And of course, an hour and 38 minutes and change, gamercal did not stop at a restock room, only having been down 3.5 hearts. He did make it through Ganon Ball Z pretty easily, but he did have to stutter step, so losing little chunks of time. Samura1man with some excellent execution could make some ground back up.
Yeah, the gauntlet itself is going pretty smoothly so far now. Could use a fire rod a bit here.
Oh no!
And Samura1man is actually going for a bit of a deeper right side pull, and we know that... Oh no, he's doing the tire room. That is definitely a large loss of time right here.
I admire his gambling spirit, but that's a tough one here.
Yeah, I imagine he feels behind, and is hoping that the only reason gamercal hasn't finished yet is due to the simple fact that the tile room is in fact the place with the big key, but we know it's just hiding on the torch. So I do understand his decision. Yeah. I do understand his decision here, though, because he probably feels like he did all those pendant dungeons and and pulled the pedestal without any reason to, having no way of knowing that his opponent, gamercal, did the exact same thing.
Well, that's tough news for Samura1man. At this point, it's gamercal's race to lose. Moldorm falls, Ganon falls, deaths, any of these things, well, even Ganon's Tower despawn glitch, which he's narrowly avoided here.
Yep, we will need to kill one of these mini Helmosaurs for an extra key. There we go. Not really bothering with the chest along the way. He could still find the golden swords along the way, which does make the cannon fight a little bit easier, though it doesn't technically make it any faster, as long as you can execute well enough. And let's see, this... Oh, my Samura1man is actually going for the complete right side play. That is really unfortunate where the big key is.
Yeah, sometimes that's just how it goes, but, you know, I mean, if you're trying to go to Ice Armos, this actually is the fastest route to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one reason it isn't used in the NMG run is actually because there's no convenient way of getting a key on the right side. That was a nice double to begin the I got 2 fights.
Yeah, the Geometry Wizard definitely testing our knowledge of angles here.
That was another good double, so 2-0-2 so far, just 2 more hits, 1 more hit, there we go, the Geometry Wizard is down.
Also, we are about to approach our Ganon fight with Tempered Sword and Silver Arrows. Pretty comfy territory for most runners, and probably the most practiced version of the fight. Looks like Bob was the steward of our library today.
Yep, we won't be seeing what that book gives us though.
Wow, that's a pretty smooth Ice Armos fight as well.
That was a really good setup for it.
So here in the Ganon fight, we're going to need the equivalent of 12 sword slashes with the Tempered Sword Advanced Phase 1 and 2. You can do sword spins for half as many total strikes. He's in a good position to get a 1+1 cycle here, and it looks like with the cape equipped, he'll be able to do that no problems.
Yeah, he should be able to get in the 12 slashes required, and yep, there we go. And that's also what I was talking about, with the gold sword making the fight easier but not faster, because due to the way Ganon is set up, you just only need to hit certain health thresholds within each of his phases to skip a cycle.
And then, of course, if we didn't have silvers, you wouldn't save any time anyway with the sword spins, as they're identical, even with gold, compared to tempered.
Yep, correct. There is only a single enemy in the game that is weaker to the gold sword spins than tempered sword spins, and that is the bomb-throwing Cyclops enemies.
I did not know the Hinox was vulnerable to that today. I learned, playing this game, you'll learn something every day, but gamercal is going to emerge victorious in this best of 3. He's going to finish up with an official speed racing TV time of 1 hour, 49 minutes and 51 seconds. Get your GGs in chat, folks.
I do believe you mean 1 hour, 43 minutes and 9 seconds, by the way.
Oh, that's a 3, not a 9. I don't know what I'm reading here. It's been a... I just woke up a little while ago. Apologies, folks.
Anyway, let's see how the gauntlet goes for Samura1man. Ooh, just narrowly missed that silver arrow. And this is a nice little show off of how annoying the RNG can be in that room, because one of those guys can just decide to hang around in the top of the room with just no convenient way of getting back to him.
Well, I'm not sure if it's like a visual glitch or maybe just like an artifact of like how Twitch sometimes does like the 30 FPS thing with certain games, but I'm pretty sure every one of those BMO statues was not shooting a real laser.
No, that is an actual glitch that happens sometimes. I don't know what triggers it, but sometimes they just don't shoot.
As I said before, today I learned.
Anyway, I do believe I just heard somebody join us in here.
Bemo's a weird man. what can I say, man?
Yeah. Congratulations on your victory against Samura1man.
Yeah, we did it! Oh man, I thought I was hosed after that that Maya was going so badly with this stuff, and I was like, okay, I've probably lost this at this point. Oh, Fire Rod. Maybe not then?
Yeah, you will probably be considering he finished after he's playing and finishing after you. You'll probably be not too surprised to learn that Samura1man actually also went for the full clear of the game.
Yeah, we've been talking a little bit. I know you guys have got to catch up on stream, but yeah, we've been talking on the stuff here. It's what a seed! That's all I can say. At least we had boots for it all. That was probably fun, you know.
You got the boots incredibly early, in fact.
It's dangerous to give me those that early. You know I like to water walk.
Yeah, you definitely got some good use out of that. Just speeding up the Lake Hylia check just that little bit.
Yeah, who cares about flippers? Just dash up to Hobo instead, you know?
Well, certainly a very fast way to do it, and it was nice to see something besides a bow start this time around.
Yeah, although it wasn't too far away from the start, so that was quite nice.
So, by the way, I was wondering about one thing. What was your thought process when you found the ice rod in Skullwoods? Were you tempted to go back to Turtle Rock and finish that dungeon immediately, or had you already had your mind set on just going for the final pennant and finishing up the pedestal?
Yeah, I was, because I was like, okay, if Ice Rod is there, Hookshot's probably on Trinex, and that's whatever. But I know there's an item on Moth as well as the green pendant, as well as the pedestal, so I'm like, well, this is the best way to get the pedestal, and Hookshot could still be there. There's no reason why it couldn't be, so let's just do it. You know, haven't had a good old-fashioned ped seed in quite a while, so whatever, let's go for it anyway, you know. I've come this far for it, and it was pretty much set in the mind of,
Oh my. Do you know what Samura1man just found in the very final chest of the game?
Was there a gold sword in there?
It was the gold sword in there.
Nice!
So, but you clearly didn't need it, because you actually killed Ganon as fast as possible anyway with the tempered sword, but it would have made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I got lucky that he went down the bottom instead of onto one of the, like, next to the torches, because if he wasn't close enough to the wall to get the double spin, I wouldn't have had the one cycle there, because I don't quite know why I didn't bounce off the trident. Sometimes I just don't, but you know, this was one of those times, but I got away with it, so yeah.
Yeah, that was favorable RNG for the Ganon warp. You know, I feel like it's a missed opportunity here, though, because you did a 1+1 cycle. It's not like his, you know, fight with the butter sword will be marginally better in any way.
No, given where he warped to, yeah, it's just one of those things, really. But I feel like, with a couple of very small exceptions, my execution was completely on point for how I play this run. This was easily the best of the three in terms of how I feel about this one. Just execution-wise.
Yeah, everything you did was looking silky smooth today.
And I can confirm that it was the best looking one, having casted the last two. It's been a pleasure to do so, by the way. You've been a very fun racer to watch.
Wow, thank you. Get a little bit more of me now, it seems.
There we go, then. And yeah, absolutely, that will be the last match of the best of three for this series. So you'll be moving on to, I believe, the winner of Walther versus Smite.
Yeah, I heard that Walther's actually taken the first game on that, but that is It's either is playing or was playing about 50 minutes before this one. So I'll have to see
Yeah.
how that went. I don't know who won out of them.
Yeah, I have no idea. I do imagine they have finished by this point, but I
Yeah.
don't know. And I do have to say, Samura1man actually had a slightly better cannon fight at the end, finishing off in just a single torch lighting with a nice triple.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I had 2 doubles, so I can't really complain too much about that.
Oh, he's showing us the swag walk on the way through, though. Oh, what a man.
He did that
There
in
we
race
go.
1, I think, as well. So
You did.
And Samura1man finishes with an official time of 1:49.51, and he also immediately hops in here in the interviewing booth.
Welcome, and congratulations, GG.
GG.
Yeah, still sub 150 on a scene like this with that hookshot. My god.
So Samura1man, we're obviously the subject of the conversation for, immediately upon starting the interview with gamercal was, how'd you feel about that hookshot location?
Next time I would like it to be removed in a game, please. That's the third time in our series. I'm getting trolled over that, but this time gamercal got trolled with it too.
Yeah. At least this time it wasn't in an open spot where I noticed it and could get it, It's very, very hidden this time. Unlike that bomb burst, though, that was hilarious because we were talking about that at the start. That our first seed bomb burst was on the lumberjack. Our second seed it was at the pedestal. So where visible is it going to be this time? It's I was thinking Highlight Island, but I wasn't anticipating it being on the library at the start. That was hilarious.
Yeah, both of you ended up full clearing pretty much the entire rest of the world before finally committing to that Swamp Palace dive, because, well, nobody wants to do Swamp Palace without the hook shot.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a fool's errand. If you, unless you really feel like you are super behind and or there's no way you're winning unless it's something like that, I wouldn't really recommend going for it because it's so unlikely for it to be there, right? And if it's not, you're doing a lot on the left side, especially in a situation like this where it was for go mode. You are doing a lot on the left-hand side, and you've got to double back down again because you can't hookshot between the 2 chests on left side. It's a lot of hassle, and if it's not there, that's easily 3.5 minutes of time that you've sunk into that you otherwise wouldn't have to.
Yeah, I was honestly considering to go to Swamp Palace right after T-Stone and TR, but I didn't. I didn't go there. I was all the time.
Yeah, I imagine finding the Titansmiths along the way puts a change in your plans there, because once you find those Titansmiths, the world opens up.
Yeah.
It's one of my least favorite places to find them, to be honest, because that promotes what I consider a fairly poor route. I mean, if you've got mirror, it's fine, but going from Hype Cave to Digging Game is something I consider a fairly poor routing choice, and finding Titansmith there basically just validates that, going, well, you can do that and it works out better going this way. And I'm just like, really? That's not cool.
Well, neither of you got to benefit from that, because both of you went from the Digging Game to K45 and not the other way around, so...
Yeah. See, my absolute aversion to do any pendant dungeon whatsoever this time, though, compared to before. It was pretty much either that or Swamp Palace. Those were my only options at that point. It's just
and of course, in this particular seat, the only pendant dungeon that was worth avoiding was Thieves' Town. The other two were very important, with both the rods hiding in them.
Did you see the slashes at Aoife when I found that? It was like, I know you're going to be important, but I don't want to go in Maya right now. Come on.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that you were slashing because it was the second time in a row that we had the key under the doormat.
I mean, that was also pretty funny, but it was more just I've just seen that it's ether, and I'm like, okay, you're probably going to be necessary, but I really don't want to do this before I do Ice Palace, so I'm gonna leave you alone right now. Maybe I should have done it the other way around, but the more I think about it, it's like there's so many different scenarios you can come up with this, right? If I found that fire rod earlier, I would have gone much further into Turtle Rocks. That would have taken a lot longer to do, and I wouldn't have gotten the ice rod before going in because Pendant Skull Woods, I was gonna try and avoid that. So yeah, it's the same sort of way with the hookshot. If I found that first, I would have probably ended up spending a bit more time in Hookshot Cave, and I would have likely full cleared Swamp Palace as well. So, you know, it's one of those of, oh, it took a long time to find that, and it's a big waste of time. But at the same time, you're saving time by not having to do the extra checks in the end, if that makes sense.
And so it really seemed like that hookshot was the one thing that, you know, compelled the two of you to do, you know, full clears where otherwise you might not have bothered at all. I have to imagine if that hookshot was anywhere else, you know, we would have been skipping some pendants here.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done Thieves Town. As soon as I saw that ether, I was already thinking, right, Thieves Town is probably nothing. If there's going to be something in the pendant dungeon, it's going to be in Maya. So as you saw, that's why I went to that one first as opposed to Thieves Town. But then Thieves Town before Skull Woods, partly because there's more items, but mostly because then I can just mirror to Pedestal, since that was the last two pendants.
Well, so I have to ask, you know, for the chat, I mean, they're clearly wondering in the back of their minds whether it's one person saying it or 50. You know, the rationale behind the bird memes today, folks. You know, Samura1man, I gotta ask you first. You did the bird toss, and I'm saluting you for that. Is there a particular reason you chose that as opposed to killing or carrying the bird?
Well, if I have to use a Easter, then just why not toss it? Any other medallion would just kill it, I believe. Not sure about Quake.
Quake doesn't affect it at all. It's a flying type. Yeah. It doesn't get affected by ground moves.
Yeah, Bonbons burn it, so with Ether, I can just, it's just freezes, and I will like, why not? Why not just do it?
Well, I have a lot of respect for the dignity on display with the bird meme being preserved. However, gamercal, I have to ask you, this might be some spicier, newer tech. Instead of using the bird to set the altitude value, you actually use the bird to wear as a hat on the way in. I wanted to ask you about your rationale there.
So that's a shout outs to DT, because it's DT that did that before, but instead of the bird toss, it's the bird carry. And yeah, I don't know. I think it was the previous game that I also had to use Ether on that thing, and I tried to pick it up, but I wasn't close enough, so I ended up just killing it with a hook shot instead. And so I was like, no, this time I'm carrying it in, because that was what I was going to do yesterday. So I don't know. It's a little bit of fun. You've got to have some levity in these things, you know. You can't go too super serious all the time.
That's what I love most about Randomizer. We have a lot of fun in this community, and you know, this tournament just goes to show just how much fun you can have. There's been pretty much 10 matches for both of you at this point, hasn't there?
Yep.
Yes.
For 2 months of time, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I play a lot of this anyway, because I always feel, no matter who I'm playing against next, I always feel like I need to just stay on top of it, because any sort of execution slips and it kind of gets in your head a little bit, and you go, oh, I normally do this a lot better, and you know, it compounds. And just practicing that a bit, I mean, that Gander's Tower to finish kind of shows a lot. I mean, that was sub 6 minutes if I'm looking at my timer right. So yeah, it's one of those that if I don't practice it, then I get rusty pretty quickly. So yeah, a lot of matches going on, but it's a lot of fun though. Even though I've been playing this for like over a year and a half now, it's still a lot of fun to go through this, and I'm always seeing new things. So it's definitely worth it.
Well, for me, I've been just playing less than a year with randomizers. For me, what I'm just learning every seed is just making different decisions depending what I've done. Like Bumper Cape, I'm guessing I will always check it even if I have a Magic Cape or not, because that last race
Yep.
Hookshot was there. It was almost deciding the race against you. Then Hookshot this time was in a swamp, so if I decide to make a gamble, I should probably stick to the plan and not just think of going to like one-off locations like Ice Road Cave, Akina's Cave, then base of nothing, we wasted like a couple seconds instead of going to gamble Swamp Palace, and then find a hookshot there.
Well, I suppose live and let live, and if you get randoed, you get randoed.
Pretty much.
At least
yeah.
it was equal for both of us this time.
Yeah. And then with the GT big key,
Oh, that was
maybe
so
next
sad.
time. Maybe next time I'm considering to check left side first, then check the right side chests, just to be sure that it's not on a charge, because information is powerful.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, gamercal, but Samura1man went full right for that big key coming back shortly
Yeah,
thereafter.
I imagine a lot of thought process behind was basically feeling both behind and surprised that gamercal hadn't finished yet at that point.
I was surprised. I went to right side and still saw he's not done yet. What is going on? That was my thought process the whole time.
Yeah,
on
because
right
you
side.
went for the immediate tile room play. I think it's with the assumption that maybe if the big key is hiding in that tile room, I have a good chance to catch up now.
Yeah, that was my thought process. I was
Hey,
what I was thinking. If I enter GG, then he's done. I'm happy with how this just ends. But it took a little bit longer than I thought.
yeah, well, Hookshot in Swamp Palace will do that to you.
Seems
but
Hookshot is my nemesis item from now on. After all
yeah,
these
you spread it to me this time as well, though.
yeah, it's in all these 3 matches against you, it has been my go mode item.
Yeah,
It has been my go mode item.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you mentioning the whole like GT Big E and play into what you're thinking in a 1v1, because that was exactly the same rationale that I used to go full like YOLO into Turtle Rock yesterday, as opposed to doing any of the other Death Mountain stuff, because I had all of East Death Mountain, both light and dark, to do at that stage. It was the only place to go. But I just went, no, the only hope that I have here is if I just go straight into TR. And of course, you know, it worked out, but it didn't feel good doing it. You know?
That's kind of
just
gamble
gotta
level.
stick.
That kind of gamble I respect, because I honestly should stick to my own plan. If I just, alright, swamp gamble, let's do it. Nothing else to think about. Unfortunately, I didn't do it then. It's random. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of it being rando, it's definitely not the end of rando. Obviously, as we've seen from this race, gamercal will advance to the next round of the brackets, but there is a lot of randomizer scheduled for your viewing pleasure and for your eyeballs and ears, even tonight. And a few recent changes as well, some interesting things to kind of bring up. We have started, or at least we're attempting to start, a multilingual cast as well. Select matches for the time being, folks who are willing to speak about these matches in Espanol, in Francés, or I'm speaking from Spanish experience myself, but Spanish, French, German even. There is actually going to be one Spanish recast tonight at 8 p.m. Thalane versus Korek at a channel called Speed Gaming Espanol. If you'd like to catch that, I'm very excited to at least catch a little bit of that. And of course, plenty of other matches on the schedule. The next one up is going to be at 5:15 with Hexmage versus Frame. I'm actually going to be on commentary for that. If any of you commentators are out there, you should sign up, because it's just me right now. But we have 6, 6:30, 7:30. We have 2 matches and a new channel as well. ALTTP Randomizer 5 is being unveiled today with Giselle Schaff versus TGH, a very exciting match.
Oh, fantastic. They are putting that
Gonna be
on.
an incredible match. That is, in fact, I would say one of the most impressive matchups in this tournament.
Absolutely. And touch wood, that could be my potential round 3 if I get that far, is with one of those two.
I hope you get really far, but just have to hope for the no hookshot trolls like I have. I hope I'm not giving out some bad luck to you now.
My goal at the moment is round 3 because all 4 of my potential round 3 opponents are absolutely insane. So I believe the other matchup in that set is Almagus and Pika Pals. So
NMG
it doesn't
guys.
matter who. Basically, yeah, it doesn't matter who I play at that point. All 4 of them are ridiculously good. And Tej would be a grudge match in a sense too, because he took me down the peg in the Swiss rounds. So you
Yeah, he
know.
was one of the 2 people you had lost to in the Swiss rounds, wasn't he?
Yep, Spoody was the other one. Both incredibly good players, though. No, I expect both of them are going to go pretty far. So yeah.
Well, I think. Sorry. Go ahead.
I do think that pretty much wraps up this game and this interview. I do hope everybody had a good time watching this, and well, see you next time, people.
Yep, we'll see you next mission.
GG's again, and thanks for the awesome races.
GG's gamercal. Thanks for the races. I'm glad I made it to match 3. Unfortunate for the outcome, but good luck on the next round.
Thank you very much.